That gets harder and harder. Let's go to a round corner. You page around. I'm going to be interviewing Tony and Graeme, but they won't be able to just answer as they feel like it because they'll take instructions via their pages from their spin doctors and political masters. So, Tony, I want to ask you about the future of British sports.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why can't we win things anymore?
Well, it's difficult for us. I think a lot of the events don't really suit the British. There should be more events than, say, the Olympics that suit us. Things like queuing. I mean, the British lead the world in queuing.
Yes.
Or at least we used to until a couple of other countries pushed in front of us.
Well, there's queuing in snooker.
Well, of course, and we're quite good at snooker as well.
Yeah.
But I think we're fantastic at snooker, in fact. It's brilliant. Did you see that? Steve Davis. I mean, I know people said he was dull, but I thought he was fantastic. He was leading the way for British.
What about,
You're so sexy.
What about something more...
Look at your hair, the way the lights shine off the top of it.
No, but can we just move on to say
well, you can move. I can move on to you, man.
Well, that's very kind of you. What about football? Because Wembley Stadium is going to be rebuilt. The Germans are claiming that England had said they could have the World Cup in the year 2006. Yeah. Where's it all going?
Wanker.
Leave me alone, you great ponce.
Sit there, no help. You want my bloody... You want to be leader, don't you? That's what's going on.
Maybe I do it better than you.
How many gold medals did we win in the last...
Not saying yes, no. Not saying yes, no. Bloody brilliant to that.
Then you answer
You made me look an arse. You made me look an arse. I said yes straight away. And look at you. Oh, I didn't hear it.
I was sitting there with your fake...
Oh, you keep out of this.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
gentlemen, I didn't realise there was quite so much of a
everything
rift in the party. Does this affect your policy towards sport as well?
Towards sport, of course. Our policy towards sport has always been very clear. Very clear indeed. We want chocolate.
Will that improve the performance of our athletes? If you're trying to be a long-distance runner, you couldn't eat a lot of chocolate.
Well,
you put on too much weight.
It is for us, Clive. It's
Oh,
not
just for you? How was that going to help us win gold medal?
It's not for me or Bollocks Face.
Who are you talking about?
Sexy Face, me.
Yes.
And my colleague here. So basically, we would receive the chocolate and we'd give it to sportsmen for energy.
Is the problem all to do with the way sport is dealt with at schools? The playing fields are not really there.
Right.
The teachers don't stay behind to do...
You've got to get it right at the very early stage of things. I mean, you could start, you know, with thinking of youth as being over here. I mean, I wonder if you'd all do that. Just think of youth as being here. This is how you start your life. And then, obviously, you move towards the end of your life like that. And then you move back towards childhood again. And then you just keep doing it. And then, unreasonably, you just stand up like that. And they're rubbish at it.
Well, thank you very much, Tony Hawks. It all feels like a Cliff Richard concert for some reason. I don't know why. Now, Graeme Garden, I'd like to talk to you. There's been a bit of a crisis in the European Commission just recently. Were you pleased to see that the whole Commission had to resign?
I was delighted to see them all resign, and also equally delighted that they've all stayed on as
do you think this finishes the European project? Has it brought it to a grinding halt, or is there some strength to be gained from this?
No, by no means. I mean, the Commission consists of people.
Yes. Of course. You wouldn't expect there to be animals, would you?
No, right. So we got that straight. It's
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Some are men, and some are not men.
And
and they're women.
Oh, they're
yes.
women, I follow. Well, who do you think should be
Jolly
president of the Commission? If Jacques Santerre has got to go, who should replace him?
Well, I like the sound of Wim Kok.
Do you?
And...
that means something in Taiwanese, I think.
Yes, but you see, Wim Kok is a possible front-runner there, but I just wonder whether the lovely Sue might be interested in taking on the job.
You think she'd be suitable as president of the European Commission?
It's those specs, they just...
You think so?
Yes, I mean, they really get me going.
But surely she hasn't been in British politics that long to suddenly be elevated into European
Well,
politics.
she hasn't had a chance to be corrupted by the system, so it's an ideal...
So you think inexperience is an advantage in this? And what about Leon Britton? Do you think he should be reappointed? Neil Kinnock? Do you think they were doing a good job? What about the Germans and the French? Are they do you think they're having a good time? I must actually concentrate on my questioning.
What you're asking me for is an appraisal.
I am.
Of the candidates?
Yes.
And what you have to take into account, it's like a box of criteria.
Yes.
And you fit the candidates into the box and measure them against each criterion.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you say, Wim Cock, it's got to be Wim Cock.
And how do you know if your Wim Cock measures up?
It varies from 1 minute to the next, obviously.
Does it?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, what about the whole question of nepotism, those suggestions that people have been...
Well, yeah, I'm sorry I appointed him. But he'd only just married into the family. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So you're taking responsibility, are you?
Yeah, and I apologise for it.
Yeah. Well, this is very unusual to have a politician in a mode to actually accept your blame. So you're entirely at fault for the whole thing.
I am, and if there's any way I can atone for it, perhaps.
I think I'm going to stop you right there. Thank you very much, Graeme Garden. Thank you. It's now time for our round called Time for Questions, and we throw the show over to the members of the studio audience to see if they've got a question for the panel to attempt to answer. Has anybody here got a question? Yes, you.
Now that girls' hockey has been axed from many schools, what would you like to replace it?
OK, how are we going to replace women's hockey, which has been axed from many schools? Sue?
I think if women's hockey is going to go, you want to replace it with something that's equally fun, equally jolly and equally scarring to the teenage psychological makeup. Dwarf skinning. That would be fun. Yeah. Or that you could collapse the essential idea of hockey, which is, hello, I'm not going to pick you because you've got slightly buck teeth and a brace, and so I'd like you to stand in your pants and an Airtech shirt while everyone laughs at you. Which is essentially, for me, what hockey has always symbolised.
Yes.
Well, I think it should be replaced by beach volleyball. It's a healthy outdoor activity. It gets the pulses racing. It does when I watch it, anyway.
Yes.
It's being replaced, Clive, quite simply because it's just not economically viable. Hockey just isn't paying for itself. Girls' hockey. It's not attracting the sponsorship, frankly.
No.
So we should replace it with topless hockey.
Yeah.
One of the problems is the fact that school playing fields have been sold off, so there is no room to play hockey. And but if we're going to go topless, I think topless just jumping up and down on the spot might be good.
Any more questions? Well, I've gone to that. There's a girl there with Morgan on your chest, which attracted me. The name Morgan,
Get off,
obviously.
Morgan.
Yeah.
In recent years, numerous politicians have had dubious sexual relationships. Who do you have an affair with and why?
This is going to sound a little bit sycophantic, Clive, but I'd like to have an affair with the British people. I would, and I'd like us...
You can't manage all of them, surely.
Well, in a metaphorical sense, I think I can, and I think I'm getting that vibe from them.
Yes. So let's see if there are any other questions. Yes, gentleman there.
Do you welcome the move to forcing takeaway restaurants to label all their foods?
Yes.
I think it's very important. I think the labelling should be honest to begin with. It should say disgusting or unhygienic or sorry, this actually is what it looks like.
This chicken tikka masala is extra creamy because you insulted the person who took your order.
A nice thought.
Clive, people aren't worried about this. I've done a lot of research. I've spoken to my constituents about this.
Yes.
At around about 11:30 outside kebab shops. And you talk to people there, they're not that bothered about whether it's got GM food in, although they perhaps ought to be, because I know that it can be harmful. Certainly after I've spoken to them, quite a lot of them have been sick.
Yes.
I would certainly have one label in fast food restaurants on those little apple pies that you get. Just for the point of view of safety, I would have a little label that said, these really, really are f***ing hot.
OK, any more questions? Gentleman over there, we haven't been over that side yet.
How will your party commemorate the life and works of Rod Hull?
Well, this is a rather sad story.
This is easy.
Yes.
We join the emu.